Hello and welcome here today at the ntop event at FOSDEM. Today I'm going to introduce you to the ntop community to show you what we have done and what we plan to do in the coming months. My name is Luca Deri and I started the ntop project more than 20 years ago. And today I'm going to talk to you about, in essence, the plans for the 2021 roadmap. Every year we schedule a conference. Unfortunately, last year we had to cancel it due to pandemic, and we are now trying to recover with some online events. Today is one of those. We had our conference in late November, December online, and today I'm going to update you about that. But before starting, I would like to tell you more about our community. In essence, ntop is an open source project, but it is also a community. In this community, we try to be open and to talk with everybody from our community, to listen to them, and today it is just an example. However, past FOSDEM, I would appreciate if you can join our community. We have two channels, one on Discord and the other one on Telegram. You can find at the bottom of this slide the address for joining, and it would be nice to stay in touch with you the whole year, not just for a couple of days. If I have to give you a quick overview of what we have done last year, I can say that we have done a few things. I suppose that you're somehow familiar with what we do at ntop and what are the main tools that we develop. And the main release of ntop NG4 has been a big development for us because we have changed many things. In particular, we have redesigned the engine and we have created something that is more flexible in terms of alerting and in terms of user interface. For instance, we are developing now new components. So we want to make sure that people are just monitoring the network and reporting this information in a way that is comfortable for them. For instance, people like these modern applications such as Discord and Telegram, the one I just described that we use for our community. And ntop NG, it is now able to talk with them. You will see more about that later in other presentations. Another big development has been the consolidation of encrypted traffic analysis and the behavior of the traffic. This is based on a library called nDPI. I will be talking about that later. And the plan for ntop NG, that is one of our key tools, is to move into directions that are not easy to follow without some sort of deep traffic analysis. In particular, modern traffic is encrypted, and we see a lot of anomalies, or if you want, unexpected behavior of devices and hosts that require us to go beyond the initial goal of the project, that was just to provide network visibility. Today, we need to interpret the data.
Sono già abbastanza
for this information. And in addition to that, we acknowledge that open source is not just the only word where people are interacting, and in many companies there are commercial tools available, such as those provided by major vendors, and that we cannot forget them. So we cannot simply say that we want to focus only on open source and forget proprietary word. So therefore, with release 4, we have decided to add support for third-party vendors, in particular through syslog integrations, because not all of them speak a language that is open by definition of proprietary. And in addition to that, we are moving towards some sort of embedding. This means that we are able to run into a physical small device, but at the same time, we are also used by other type of tools. One example is CheckMK, that are using our tools as a backend, as a server. So in essence, as tools that can analyze the traffic and can report information through their platform. So you can see that the concept of embedding is somehow changing depending on the platform used. In addition to that, we have plannings to continue our evolution towards high speed, and we have support now for 40 and 100 gigabit, and in particular with the new latest commodity adapters from Intel. Our idea is to develop tools that are not just open source, but that are also efficient, and that are also an efficient replacement of proprietary ones. We have seen this year, a lot of people have been in trouble with tools from leading companies that have been, reported to be actually Trojans because they have been infected by security issues. This is what we want to avoid, because the fact that the source code is available on the internet, it also means that it is open to inspections, and we listen very carefully about security issues. And one of the main goals of this tool is not just to be free of charge, in essence, as many people perceive it, but to be also open in terms of inspection. Because if we want to do security and cybersecurity as one of the main goals, we also need to be open to innovation and to inspection from people that have to check whether what we do is really in line with the expectation. One of the tools that we have also enhanced is a versatile DDoS mitigation tool called nScrub, that it is used to protect the network infrastructure that we are monitoring. And this is an important point because many people that are using our tools have been affected by those issues. Finally, we have started to move the first step into IoT and SCADA monitoring. You will hear later something more about IoT. And this is one of the first things that we want to develop in this half of 2021. Let's now have a look at the roadmap more in detail. The roadmap for us is important because it allows you to give you a quick outlook of what we plan to do instead of just telling you what we have done. So we would appreciate if you have comments or announcement, if you can comment around the Scan channel. So in essence, the motivation for this, it's always the same. We need to provide people visibility, but we need to interpret the data. It is important that they perceive the network not as something complicated to analyze, but as something safe. For this reason, we have spent a lot of time trying to enhance the traffic interpretation and the traffic features such as alerting. So our idea is to interpret the data and to have the data analyzed in a way that everybody can understand with a simple three-color indicators, green, yellow, and red. And we want to give people an interpretation of the traffic, because providing just visibility, so in essence showing them what is happening without the tool being able to explain people whether the traffic is good or bad, I don't think it is a good achievement. So that's why we are moving into this direction further and further. Therefore, we have been spending a lot of time with some of our users that are using our tools in commercial environments, where they must provide a solution, a permanent solution to their customers and their users, and that requires, for instance, visibility of encrypted traffic, cybersecurity extensions, and the ability to speak with various types of environments that are not limited to our tools. This has been our motivation. So create some network monitoring tools that are able to interpret the data and report people what is happening in simple terms. And this is very important. And also this means that we want to embed those tools into simple devices. So at least if we don't do that, we want to enable people to do that, especially consultants or users that are using our tools to show the outcome of the monitoring to their customers. At the moment, the current state of the art for this type of arguments is nScrub, that we are able to do 10 gigabit plus network traffic monitoring. And we have this version of ntop NG inline that we have called nEdge, or ntop NG Edge, that can block unwanted traffic and give priority to those flows that are important for people, giving less priority to those that are not so important. Over the years, we have created also another tiny version of an edge called nFirewall that is just an internal project, and that we would like to use to provide people the ability, in essence to everybody, the ability to keep the network clean and healthy. I will be discussing this about this later in this presentation. So in essence, our plan for this year, it is not just to provide people visibility, but also to enforce the traffic, to show customers what is happening. And in case something goes wrong, we want to block it, because you know, an alarm, it is nice, but also a block, it is better. This does not apply to every network, because some specific networks cannot be blocked, because it is not a good idea. I'm thinking about industrial networks. So these are special environments. But in general, there are many places where network policies have to be enforced. This is the concept of a firewall in essence. But the firewalls did not evolve much since 20 plus years, simply because they are still thinking in terms of IP addresses and ports. And it is important to give them the context, so the ability to understand what is happening in order to make decisions. This is what we want to do. And this is important for cybersecurity, because cybersecurity is perceived as a very complicated topic, and we don't say that it is not true, but we are saying that this is an oversold argument. So we believe that it is possible to do something simpler. For this reason, we plan to go into a path of visibility and enforcement at the same time, where you can put ntop ng on premises like we have always done, or on the cloud. So it means that you can deploy sensors on various types of devices, from small ARM-based devices, super cheap, to devices that are already present in your network. An example is this Nokia device here that is in essence a mesh access point, or to super high-end boxes that are able to do 10 gigabit plus. And the enforcement path is something optional. We don't expect, like I've said, that everybody will use it, simply because networks sometimes have already different type of tools for doing that. But we expect that the enforcement can happen also through the improvement of network monitoring rules that are already in place, that can be complemented with new rules that are coming from the fact that you are observing the network flowing in and the traffic of your users, so that you have a better understanding whether the expectation you made when you have created those rules and set those policies are really meeting with what is happening. One of the things that we have already released this year is the integration of our tools with two popular platforms. One is OPNsense, the other one is pfSense. I think many of you are familiar with those, and there are many people we know that are using them as a firewall. So February 1st, we have made our first release after a long testing. And at the moment, we support on those platforms 3 of our tools: ntop ng, that is the visual network monitoring and collection interface; nProbe, that is our network sensor; and n2disk, that is a tool that allows you to dump traffic to disk in case you want to see what is happening in your network, and also go back to the packets that have created that traffic. And the main feature here is the fact that we support those packages directly. We don't go through the standard life cycle of OPNsense, pfSense, or FreeBSD packaging. And for those, we provide timely support. You can contact us directly through the community links or open tickets, and we'll be willing to support you. Instead, in the past, those packages were supported through the non-official ntop channels, and therefore the support life cycle somehow was slow. The main goal here is to bring to a firewall what we believe is important. Basically, encrypted traffic analysis, the ability to understand understand implicit traffic that is now predominant on the internet, and also some cybersecurity features through the fact that we are able to monitor and interpret traffic. As you can see in this picture, we have added not just the packaging support, but also the ability of showing graphically how the tools are configured and to reconfigure them through point and click. This is, I believe, is very important. What we have in mind to do is to develop something called an IPS model for nProbe, namely the ability of blocking traffic in addition to the firewall. Because like I said, the firewall, it is not, for instance, aware of any layer 7 traffic. And also, we want to make sure that for protecting devices that are somehow special, such an IoT device, we can somehow restrict the traffic of those devices to selected places. Just to make you an example, if you have an Alexa home device, this device will talk only to Amazon and should also talk only to selected servers of Amazon. This is possible, and this is something that we plan to do with this release. We are not super sure that we'll be able to support the pfSense, because pfSense at the moment it is using a Linux kernel, a FreeBSD kernel that is a bit outdated, but we'll do our best to support it. For sure, OPNsense will be supported. We actually have already code working, and we plan to release it either at the end of this month or sometime in March. The idea to have ntop as a service is nothing new, as I said. So we are trying to have this concept because many people are moving to software as a service. They don't like to have utilities running on premises, but they like to have tools available somehow on one place for which they don't have to maintain anything, and for which other people are taking care of the service. So for this reason, this will be one of the next topics we want to do, so that the people can deploy sensors in their network and visualize everything from a more consistent place on the cloud and to perceive it as a service. So in essence, the goal for this year is not just a repackaging of the tools like I've just described, but also our idea is to move towards a more intelligent visualization of what is happening and interpretation of the traffic. In particular, we want to have something that is able to report about unexpected behaviors, unexpected changes in our network, and be able to understand also if there are some security issues. So in essence, we want to anticipate, not just to report people what happened in a bad form to the network. And we believe that this can be done through better understanding of the traffic. So for instance, we have just introduced new features. In 4.2, you have the ability of monitor beaconing, that are periodic activities that are happening on the network. And this is typically used by malware, by applications that are trying to connect with selected services, but also used by people on the network that sometimes install applications that are doing periodic scan, periodic things that are not expected, that can be finally detected with a few matter of clicks by ntop. And the fact that we monitor encrypted traffic is something granted, because many years ago we have started more than 8 years ago to develop this open source DPI toolkit called nDPI. I will be talking about that this afternoon in FOSDEM. There is a conference, so you can find the schedule here on the ntop page. And therefore, it is very important for us to pay attention to this type of cybersecurity, because it's a very hot topic for many people. Another thing is that the ability to create something called the service map. So ntop is doing some sort of, I would call it learning, even though it is not based on machine learning. So in essence, ntop studies how the traffic is flowing in a network, understands who's talking to whom, what are the assets used, for what purpose, for what protocols. And based on that, at some point, the learning ends, And whenever we see that there are new traffic flows that are unexpected with respect to what we have been observed during that training period, then we trigger an alert. Or if in the future you want to deploy the enforcement, those traffic flows will be blocked if possible. Like I've said, there will be a speaker, Antonis, that will be talking about IoT monitoring, in particular in the context of a European project where we are part. I don't want to talk too much about that. And also later today, Martin will be talking about ICS and SCADA monitoring. So I let them talk about that. And in addition to that, I want to give you a more detailed overview of other tools that we are developing. In particular, let's talk a little bit about traffic processing. Like I've said, traditionally, we have done always many developments in this area, trying to improve the processing of the traffic at a very high speed. And the idea this year is to somehow to consolidate what we have done in the past years to create a comprehensive solution that is able to provide not just visibility of the traffic, but also cybersecurity. And this is will be somehow a consolidation of our tools. We don't plan to create a new tool, but just to consolidate and to integrate our tools better. This because we need to somehow give people simpler solutions that are more powerful than what we have been able to do in the past. So in essence, the future for this year for us is a mix of visibility, so enhance the ability of people to understand what is happening in the network with enforcement. And if we start deploying our tools in a firewall, such as OPN, pfSense, then this will become even easier, because this will be the best place for doing this type of policies, for applying our security rules. We want to have also the ability to organize probes so that they can be deployed at the edge of the network, because today's network are becoming very fragmented. In particular, with this pandemic, you have seen that many people are working from home, and therefore one of the things that we have to face with is the inability of having a central point where we can observe all the traffic. So it's important to have, for those who need that, the ability of running probes remotely and have a consolidated view in one place, or either on the internet or inside a LAN, because it's very important to do that. And this can be done in two ways: either in software, you deploy the software in the remote box, or physically creating some hardware boxes. We don't want to preclude any of those rules. Let's now talk about a little bit about nDPI. Like I've said, there will be a talk this afternoon, so I don't want to talk too much about it. Just to tell you that it's an open source DPI toolkit that is able to understand the traffic and to decode it in a way so that we can give put a label, let's say, next to a traffic flow, saying this is, for instance, Google Maps, or this is Tor, or this is an HTTP request with something special that we don't like. In essence, we are able to analyze the traffic and to characterize it according to protocols and also to behavior. In the latest 3.4 release that we have released a few months ago, we have re-implemented many things in the encrypted traffic analysis field, in particular for TLS and QUIC. QUIC is going to be one of the most important protocols for the internet. It is already used in some of protocols such as YouTube, for instance, and we are able to also to put this into nDPI, so that we are able to analyze the most popular traffic protocols, and also we want to do it in a way so that does not use too much CPU. We have seen that many people are using IDSs, and they are nice, but somehow they generate a lot of data. They don't interpret data. This is another point, so that people can use them as sensors, but not as a solution. And in addition to that, we want to overcome the limitation of those tools that don't have much in terms of behavior analysis. They just report either a signature, say this traffic does not match this expectation, then alert. But this is a problem for 0-day alerts. or they don't, let's say, provide much in terms of interpretation, okay, and clustering of the traffic on a system. For instance, they just focus on the flow level. That's why we believe we can innovate a little bit. And in the nDPI 3.4, we have added also many features for interpretation of the traffic, for clustering of the traffic, and for somehow understanding what is happening and providing people, developers, in essence, those tools and those algorithms that have been out on the internet for a long time in a single and consolidated place, so that they can easily develop application for doing things like, for instance, cardinality estimation. So that is the base of creating the top X whatever protocols. And in 3.4, we also have the concept of security risk. That is the ability of interpreting through nDPI the traffic. For instance, it is no longer complicated or let's say expensive, or you need to use a special application to understand things like, for instance, transfer of a binary application, or the fact that there are people that are using outdated protocols such as SMB version 1. This comes for free with nDPI, and all the applications sitting on top of it can immediately benefit from nDPI enhancement, simply because it is a layer on top of which our tools are created, but also many tools that people are using on the internet are based. Another quick update about nProbe. nProbe is a network sensor able to export data in NetFlow IPFix. We have spent a lot of time with this release to implement better connection support and to somehow re-export data for collectors that are not able to understand all the various dialects of the NetFlow available in the market. And in particular, with 9.4, we have also spent a lot of time trying to optimize the performance. We have been able to speed up flow collection to over 100,000 flows per second per core. That is a pretty high number. And this because we want to move into high-end network monitoring, where people can monitor very large network with simple tools. The DPI toolkit is always present, so therefore we can interpret data and report information not just about the protocol, but also about the behavior, such as, for instance, the inter-arrival times or the byte entropy. That is very important for some scientists that are using our tools to create a solution based on machine learning that need a lot of features in order to operate. And also we have added the support for many platforms. For instance, OpenWRT, so for the Nokia Beacon 6 I showed you before in the picture, but also for other type of platforms such as small ubiquity devices that for 40 euro you can buy and you can deploy on a network that allows you to monitor the network at a very low cost. For nProbe CENTO, that is the high-end version of nProbe, we have added many extensions, mostly in terms of performance. We still have the ability of reporting data in many formats, including syslog, Kafka, Apache Hive, and Elastic. So therefore, you can we suggest you to use nProbe CENTO in case you have a very high speed network where nProbe cannot keep up. And in particular, in the latest version, we have enhanced the encrypted traffic analysis and support for hardware that allows us to speed up from 40 to 100 gigabit. And of course, we have added support for new and latest platforms such as Red Hat 8 and Ubuntu 20. Thank you very much. This was just a brief introduction of what we have been doing and what are our future plans. So we'll be here today and tomorrow. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll let you ask questions or move to the next speaker. Thank you.